Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlocked Show. I'm your host today. I'm Tracy Wilson. This is episode number 17. Can you believe it? I can't believe that it's gone so flaming fast that we're now 17 episodes in. And today I have got a really special guest with me. He's somebody that I want to introduce you to. Some of you may be familiar with him. You might have seen him on the Metadime channel previously on another show. But today I've got my very good friend, Donald Gifford. I wanted to bring him on the show today because over the last, 6 months, I have come to know Donnie really well. You may also know him as being the genius behind a lot of the videos that we do on the Metadime channel and also here on the Unlocked Show. But aside from that, Donnie has been, somebody whom over the last 6 months I have watched do some amazing things, and his ability to be able to just kind of let things go and be able to move on from things and allow him to live in the moment has been extraordinary. And I asked him to come on the show and to share how he does that so subtly. How does he let go of things? And when you listen to today's show and you hear about his story and some of the things that he has gone through, he is really going to be able to help you to let go of some of the things that are no longer serving you, to enable you to move forward into a new paradigm and into a space where you're able to live a life freely, unlock your inner genius, and just release yourself from some of the burdens of life. Aside from that, Donnie is also a very astute businessman. He's owned many businesses, all in all sorts of different industries, from marijuana to a process called Ormus, which I'm really, really interested about, and he's going to share that with us maybe on another show. But today I wanted to get him on here to talk about this because this is a topic that a lot of people have trouble with, and it's something that we hold on to, and it creates burdens for us that we carry for a very long time. And Donnie is the guy that's going to help us to release those. So welcome to the show, Donnie. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Tracy Wilson. Thank you for having me on Unlocked. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Hey guys, if you're also watching this for the first time, you might be watching us on a number of different channels. So there's a couple of things that I need you to do. If you are listening to the podcast right now and you want to watch live shows, then head on over to the Success Secrets for Family, Business and Life group inside of Facebook. Go find us there and come and watch these live. You'll actually see video streaming of this. If you're watching on YouTube, also get yourself on over to the family Success Secrets for Family, Business and Life page. So glad to have a lot of our viewers here today. I can see you guys coming on board. And if you want to speak to us throughout the show, which some of you might want to do, you can do so by just typing in the chat box. We will actually get that here in the studio, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So like I said, Donnie, welcome to the show. I know that you have had like this amazing life and career, and you've had some real highs and some extreme lows. And I just wanted you to really share with us some of the things that you've gone through in your life, and give people a bit of a backstory about you so that we can get a sense of who you are, and really why I've asked you to speak about this topic today, and why you've been so good at letting things go.
I could answer with many answers. I guess where it would start is, of course, childhood. I had a pretty interesting childhood. It was pretty tumultuous and different. My mother, Reiko, was Japanese. My father, Don, is white American. And growing up in the 50s and 60s and 70s of the United States in Colorado was quite the experience. As right now, we're going through a lot of racial issues globally and in the United States. I guess the biggest lesson for me began in my life for letting go was when my mother was ill. And I cared for my mom for about a year, and she chose to die at home. And she went into a coma, and she says, well, don't worry, I'll be back. I'll wake up to say goodbye. And the doctor goes, well, she's, not going to wake up. I was sitting in the living room one day, and I felt this really strange, sharp pain on the left side of my head. And my sister Ella, she called me into the bedroom. She goes, Don, come in. And our mother was sitting up, and there were about 16 of us in the room. And she looked up and looked at one of us, and she was, of course, fighting to breathe and stay alive, but she was fully present in that moment. And in that moment, there was this great storm outside. The wind was blowing, the cars were flying by, and all of a sudden, the cars slowed down, the wind calmed down, and my mother, she was looking right into my eyes, and she had this smile. And inside her eyes, I could see these white flickers of light, these little white flickers of light. And the air became very dense and very thick. And I realized over that period of time, taking care of my mother to this moment of her passing, that all I could do was be present. There was nothing else I could do because she was going to pass away. So I had to let go. It was a process of letting go of someone who had raised you, someone who made me a much better person because of the experiences my mother had in her lifetime coming to the United States. And it was at that moment I knew I had to let go. And I said to her, I said, go. Just go, Mom, go. And of course she did. And then a few nights later, as my mother promised, she said she'd come back and visit me. And I said, no, don't do that, Mom. You're going to scare me because that means you're like a ghost or something. She goes, Donnie, I'm your mom. I'm going to come back and visit you. And she actually did several times. She would tap me on my shoulder like she said she would. And it startled me a few times. And finally, we came to the point of where I started talking to her. And it was also about me letting go of her. She goes, it's time to go back to work. It's time for you to let me go. I have to go. And, that's just one aspect of life. Letting go of the abuse in my childhood, letting go of the anger, letting go of the fear, letting go of any bad experience to the degree that you can. And for me, that comes down to us as humans, as spiritual beings, coming to the point where we can embrace ourselves and acknowledge ourselves enough. I don't want to call it self-love, but it is a state of being, a state of love to where you can forgive yourself, you can forgive others, because ultimately it's about where you're going to go when you can start reaching that point, whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's friendships. I know it's very difficult for many people to even conceive that, but what that letting go is refocusing and where you are at that moment. Because at that moment of letting go, everything else becomes present in your life. And it's at those moments that you can make great decisions and everything can change.
Mm. I mean, that is such a powerful story. And a lot of that is, I think about having those sort of moments and, and I've been in that sort of situation too. So I do know what you're meaning in the sense that you need to be absolutely present. How do we, and, the thing is, we shouldn't have to wait for a moment like that to kind of be that jolt of, you need to be present. You need to be paying attention. You need to be, where you're at in that moment, because, the past is gone. We don't have that anymore. We don't have we have something to look forward to in the future, but the thing that we all have right now is where we are in this present moment and what we actually choose to do with that at that time. That is such a powerful story. So I want to know, I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of things go on in your childhood and even with business. So you've had, highs and lows in your business life. And I know that, you've been a high flyer and you've been extreme and continue to be extremely successful in what you do, and even been on boards, et cetera, et cetera. And even in our business world and our business life, there are certain things that happen, and we have a choice as to how we react to those. So I know you've told me some stories previously about various different things from a business perspective that you've gone through, and you've had to let go. So how about you share some of those? I'm kind of, guys, I am like unlocking some of the stuff here. Donnie doesn't even know where I'm going with this. He's probably going to think, man, I told you that. I didn't think you were going to talk about that on air. But, I think there's such powerful stories that he shared with me. I feel like it would just be such an injustice not to share them with the rest of our viewers. So tell us about the stories where, you were telling me that you had lots, you'd got to come to a point where you had lots and lots of money, like millions.
Yeah, I did come to a point, actually a few times, where I had a lot of money. And the funny thing is, you dream about having a lot of money, and all of a sudden you have all this money. And truthfully, you're still the same person, but you have a lot of money. And it's, what are you going to do with it? What action are you going to take? What I learned from the experience of that is I was the type of individual, and I still am. I'm a community involved person. I've pulled back. It was about helping others, but then what it really comes down to is, how are you going to help yourself? It comes down to self-worth. So I had all this money, and I was like, okay, well, what do I do? What am I going to do? Do I leave it there? Do I put it somewhere? And what the real answer came from me was, now that I look at it later, as at that time, I don't know if I felt worthy of having all that money. I wasn't taught that there are certain things you do to preserve your capital. There are certain things you do to keep your money. And I did have a friend, she said to me, Don, sell it all and move it. And I was like, well, I really don't know what I'm going to do with it, so I'm just going to leave it. Well, of course, ultimately, that was the wrong choice. The choice was, at that point, of allowing myself to be this person that had a lot of money. And it didn't change me. It's just the fact that I was given that chance and that opportunity to have that money. And what was I going to do with it? And I do believe those opportunities will happen again, because it's happened a few times in my life. Mm-hmm. And it's about perseverance and focus. If you really want something and you focus enough and you work for it, you can make it happen. So when all of a sudden you go from living in a penthouse, money markets are crashing, the world is going crazy, you're like, what is going on? Well, fortunately, we made the right decision, and we moved, and we came back to the United States, and this tumultuous situation started occurring. And so it's about letting go. Right now, our lives are about letting go. What's happening in the world, we're going through this major transformation. Many people right now, they only see it as darkness. But the greater understanding is, the darker it gets, the brighter the light. We're on the verge, and we're on the precipice of great changes in the world, within ourselves, because what's happening outside of ourselves is literally happening within all of us. We're creating this situation because we understand it's time for us to create change. And the way you create change is you let go. You let go and you start to live in the moment, because as long as I have an attachment to my past saying, oh, wow, I had all this money. What could I have done with it? Or I did this, or I did that. It doesn't matter. It's gone. That moment is gone. All that matters is right now. And this moment right now, I can not only change my future, I can not only change this present moment, but I've learned it also, I've been shown, it also changes the past. So that's where healing occurs. I have this story about my dad. I had a really tumultuous relationship with my father, and I loved my dad. And I've always loved my dad, but it was very tumultuous and violent at times, and sometimes not forgiving. We went to Wisconsin for my brother's wedding, and we were sleeping in what was considered the Great Forest of Wisconsin. It was near a place called Baraboo, Spirit Lake. People have changed the name of it. And I went to sleep one night. It was after my brother's wedding, and I was shown the lodge, and I was floating above the lodge, and the spirit of the forest, as crazy as this sound, was like talking to me. And they said, look at your family, look at all these people in the lodge. And I could see everyone sleeping in their beds. And they said, this is a tree. This is a tree of your family life. And it said, you have been reborn with these people over generations and over time. And then a voice said to me, and now is the time to forgive. So to forgive is to let go. And I understood, and I got up. My dad was leaving early that morning, and it just so happens my sister was there outside, and my brother. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and I went to speak to my dad. And I said, Dad, I want you to know that not only were you my greatest nemesis, you were also my greatest teacher. And it's because of you that I have become this person. It's because of all those experiences that it has actually empowered me to become this person who is striving to be present. And I said, I told him, I said, I love you, I forgive you, and I thank you. I thank you for taking on all that karma to teach me those lessons. And we hugged. My brother was there, my sister, we all hugged together. And it was really powerful. This moment of just intense love was just pouring everywhere. And we were crying. And I no longer saw my brother, my sister, or my father as human beings or family. I had a moment, and I was shown a glimpse that we're far different than that. I didn't even see human beings anymore. And so it was a very powerful realization. And we went outside in the parking lot. My dad is leaving, and my brother said to me, he said, there's so much love here. I can barely handle this energy. And that's what happens when we let go. When we as human beings focus on the past, when we focus on hurts, when we focus on the future, the worries, instead of being present like we are right now, you and I are fully present. We're talking about, this story, Don's story, and many of us have stories like this. But fortunately, I was able to rise above it. And I believe maybe I was meant to in this lifetime. All right, hopefully so.
Yeah. I mean, these stories, Don, are extremely powerful. And, us talking about letting go. But I think the other huge thing here is just our ability or our ability to actually forgive, and for us to be accepting of others, to forgive ourselves. Sometimes, we go through this life, and we layer on burdens upon burden upon burden on ourselves for things or decisions that we've made in the past. Like you were saying, you could continually go back over that story and like, wow, I had a lot of money. Why didn't I do this? Well, I could have done this and I could have done that. But instead of doing that, you've just let it go and are now at peace with that. So there's definitely, a real power in us being able to say, I forgive you, I forgive myself, and it's okay. because things will always be okay. Things will always be just fine. And, for each and every one of us, we're all still here today and we're all just fine. So it will continue to be that way. I want to know, like, you talked about, mum and dad, but like in your lifetime, who would you say has been like the most inspirational person for you? Who do you kind of draw your strength and your character from?
Well, actually, presently, I am on a spiritual path, and I didn't talk about this part before, but I had a near-death experience when I was 19 years old, and we could probably talk about that some other time. But I was shown this individual. So right now, I literally have a spiritual teacher, and that spiritual teacher was shown to me when I was 19 years old, and I wasn't present enough to realize what was going on. And I did not meet this individual till I was in my 50s. And that's the person I most admire now. I could say I admire myself because we're all a work of art, and that I'm trying to remain present. But other than that, I'm in that aspect of my life. There is the business aspect of me and how I deal with people, how we do things, how we communicate. But what holds that higher is the path that I'm on right now. And ultimately, we're all on a spiritual path. And that's who I really look up to. But other than that, it would have been my mom. My mom, before being on the spiritual path, my mom, Reiko, would be the one person that taught me, empowered me through the rough times. I remember when, there were abusive situations and my mom would come in the room and she'd say, Donnie, you're my son and I come from a very old blood and you have my blood. And don't let any of this take you down. She goes, you're far more than any of this. And of course, maybe as a child, I didn't totally understand that, but I did grasp onto that. And then it went on that my parents got divorced. My mother had to raise 4 kids. My mother worked full time, went to school full time. And it was amazing as a child to see a woman from Japan who spoke with an accent, who could speak 3 languages and write in 3 languages, was going through a rough time where she worked. And there were racial inequities and also the fact that she was a woman who had what was called a man's job back then. My mother had dual titles. She was an electronic and mechanical technician, and she was going to engineering school. So she had a rough time from women and from men at work. And our mom would come home and cry, and she said, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this because I have to raise you. So as a child, I saw my mom work full time, go to school, come home at night, up at 3, study, go to work. And she did that for years. And she had so much commitment and tenacity as an individual, as a human being, that it really helped me realize who I am also. That you can see that, but you can do that.
I mean, that in itself, as you know, Vicky and I have just finished writing the book, The She Myth. And that story that you've just told there is like the exact reason why we felt so compelled to write that, because of the myths and the challenges, I suppose, that women and people of race have, particularly when they migrate to other countries that are not their not their home country. So I can only imagine that being a young woman, coming from Japan, migrating to America, doing a man's, we'll put it in inverted commas, a man's job, and slogging it out day after day, looking after 4 kids, and having those challenges that she would have been faced with. What an amazing woman that clearly that has rubbed off, on you, and to get you to where you are today. What I'm really interested too, and to know, like, as her child, did you see anything visible around, like, how did she handle that? Like, what sort of things did she do to overcome? Because a good part of obviously what your mum did to let go of some of those stereotypes and the shit, we call them the she myths that are out there. She had to let them go, leave them, not accept them, leave them behind to enable her to move forward. What did you see her do? Because clearly you've picked some of that up.
Well, the funny thing is my mother would say, Donnie, no matter what you do, I want you to be the best. I don't care if you're a garbage man. You need to be the best. So that's the one thing my mother had, was focus. She would put all of her focus, all of her attention on her studies, on her work, on raising us, making us aware of what the world is like. She had a drive that I don't know if a lot of people have that. And the reason we're talking the she myth, when we had spoken about it briefly the other day, I said, I wish my mother would have had these tools available to her back then. It's such a misnomer. It's so strange for me as who I am to look at how, whether it's a race, whether it's a man versus woman, how people try to isolate women and say, well, you're a woman, so you shouldn't be doing that job. Well, the truth is, people, if we were really humans and attain the human status, we would realize it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters what's within you. It matters what you can do. And many people have not reached that point yet. And thankfully, because I had the mother that I did, and I had the experience that I did, I can see that. And I can see why this book, She Myth, is very important, because it's about to blast through those doors and blast through those fake ceilings that every human being, every woman should have the right to do what she wants. And I lived that and I saw that. And I don't like seeing that. I don't want to even see that for my daughter who's going to med school, who is biracial or more than biracial. She's very mixed. And, I worry about my kids. I worry about their futures. But I worry about my daughters because, my mom always said, Donnie, it's harder when you're female because, there's all these inequities in life. And the fact is, they're all illusions. We need to let go of those illusions. We need to, like when I forgave my father and I thanked him, what happened in that moment of forgiving my father, I was shown right now, I healed the present. I healed my future and my family, but I healed the past. So when we as a people start to embrace equality amongst everyone, amongst women, I mean, we all have mothers. Most of us do, I would think. That's why we're here. I mean, why wouldn't we see it from the eyes of a child that sees their mother who gave them life and fed them and gave them birth and took care of them and kept them safe? Why wouldn't you want the feminine aspect to have everything that they want? And why would we be stopping these people? Well, maybe the truth is because people fear the power of that, for the individual that has the power to give life.
Thank you so much for that, Donnie. I mean, we weren't going to necessarily talk about the she myth, but your mum, you've spoken to me about her many a time before, and you are a testament to her, and you're allowing her legacy to live on, even by sharing her story today. So thank you so much for that. And her being, a strong woman who was not afraid to just carry on and do what she needed to do for the betterment of herself and her family, but probably not even realizing that by doing that, the impact that she can also have on the future generations of your family, but now also through your story today, being able to touch the lives of many, many other men and women who are listening to this interview right now. So thank you so much to both you and obviously to Mum for doing it tough to get through what she had to get through. And, the she myth will hopefully help a lot of other women overcome those myths and some of the burdens that we put on ourselves, or the labels that we accept that we certainly don't need to.
True.
So the where I want to go with this next is like around from a business point of view, because we've got a lot of people on our channel that are in business or are wanting to start their own business. But you mentioned something about fear. Let's go there. Let's talk about sort of the fears that we have, and often fear is that one thing that prevents us from like moving forward, and that's that false. What's the word? It's like the false reality that's not really true. It's like something that we create in our own mind. So let's help our viewers today kind of recognize when they're in a state of fear and what they can do about that.
What I've learned as a great exercise throughout my life, I always lean forward when I walk. And my mom used to always make comments about that. I would always lean forward, head forward. And when I've done anything in business, I've never really proceeded with fear. I just went for it and didn't want to be in that space. So my advice to people, if they're fearful, it's what can you find that makes you happy? Whether it's independence of your own job, there's always solutions out there, but it's about focusing your energy on those solutions, moving your energy away from being fear-based. Our whole lives right now, we're going through so much fear. The world is tumultuous. There's COVID, there's the sun, there's all this stuff going on, but it's really about tapping in to who you really are. Yes, we're human beings in a human body, but within us, we have this far greater power. And if you use the energy, I could call that, okay, ultimately, I could say I am soul, but it's an energy. And it's about tapping into that energy and focusing that energy on those solutions or what you see in your life. But you do that presently. But of course, you can't just imagine it. With that also comes work, and determination. As we know from Metadime, we're all very focused right now. We're all working really hard because we have goals and we know what we're doing is going to be beneficial. So it's about tapping into, like I've told you before, I like community. It's about tapping into something that you like and finding that solution within you. I think it wasn't on your show or Vicky's show. They said, I think it was Vicky's, where there's 12 thoughts in consciousness. There's 12 solutions and 12 people get that. Well, 1 out of 12 or 2 out of 12 grab that solution, just like you've done in your life, Tracy. You've grabbed those solutions and you've gone for it. So that's where we're talking about the fear and about letting go. It's about realizing we're not the fear. There are forces that want us to play into the fear. We're all far greater than we can even imagine. So when I would do businesses, I would just do it. And people would say, Don, you're crazy. What are you doing? And maybe I was crazy. Maybe I'd be driven to the edge and I just push and push and push. And we do these things. And sometimes they do really great. Well, most of the times they did pretty well, actually. But it's because if you have the determination and if you have the focus, let go of that fear. You have to stop looking at the fear. Because what you look at is what grows. You have to focus. Yeah.
So true. And just before, when I was speaking, I was trying to recall the acronym that we use for fear, and so I just jotted it down. So it's that false expectation appearing real. So that is what fear is. It's like we create this false expectation that we think appears real, when in fact it's not. Often, when you're thinking about the future, it's a figment of your imagination at that point in time. The only thing that's real is the moment that we're in right now. And I don't know how many times I've said that through today's show. But when we get and we understand that, and we allow ourselves to be present in that moment, and you can, it's like a shedding. It's a shedding of, like you were talking earlier, and I feel like there's a real letting go and a shedding of what has been in the past, to allow something new to emerge. A little bit like the phoenix coming out of the fire. We've got this tumultuous situation. We've got fire, raging going on in the world. But we are going to come out of that. And what always comes after you've had a big burn, and I can talk about this because we have it here in Australia, you have a big burn. What happens? Well, you do get new growth that happens. So in this moment for everybody, it is that allowing yourself to let go, allowing the past to be in the past, because that plays no part in your future and what you're going to create today. So let it go and allow the new roots and the new fronds to blossom and bloom, and continue to water that.
I totally agree with that. This is the point of time where we as human beings can make a great choice. We have the chance in the moment to re-envision our future and our present moment. And we do have the power to do that. I'm not saying some perfect utopian society, but evolution of the way we think, evolution of the way we do business, evolution of the way we interact with each other as human beings. There's so much. We're at the precipice, and we're going through this great contraction. And even though people think things are terrible, actually it's perfect. We're meant to be here. We've all chosen to be here right now. All of us human beings, we are here to experience this moment, and we are the ones that are going to create the change. No fear.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And it's really interesting that even through this COVID time, and I even think about, how much I've grown and how much I have achieved in that period of time of growth, of like almost that retraction of focusing on me, because a lot of through not our own doing, but a lot of those distractions had been taken away. There was a time where, you're in lockdown, you can't go anywhere. So what do? Well, you get really focused on yourself, you get focused on your family, you have some time to kind of cut out a lot of the distractions. So even in that, there is lessons for us to learn, in that's okay. And sometimes you do just need to do a retraction, focus on yourself and forget about, what's going on in the external world. It's almost as if we've kind of got these two paradigms happening, isn't there? It's like you've got this world that our own little circle of influence, and then there's this world outside where there's a lot of, turmoil happening. But I agree with you that a lot of the way in which the world will be shaped, or the evolution happens now, actually starts with each and every one of us individually, and us thinking about, like even on Scott's show, where we think about another perspective, like just opening our minds to be accepting and receptive to new information, allowing that to come in and making up our own minds as to what's the right thing to do. And if you get in touch with like who you really are, and you're centered, and love, like you were saying, as being sort of the intention of everything we do, then you cannot go wrong. That's
how
my
true,
belief.
Tracy. Yeah, I mean, how true. Because what happens on the inner is what happens on the outer. And we are in turmoil, but it's because many of us were in turmoil. And now we're going through a reset of quiet and inner reflection and regathering our thoughts. Even the earth has become quieter because of all these shutdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The earth itself has been given a break. And this is time for us to have inner reflection and decide how we're going to do businesses differently, how we're going to interact differently, how we're going to grow food differently. Everything is going to change. And I have seen, I dream a lot. And I have dreamt that the future is going to be really amazing. It's going to be evolved, yet going back to the way things were in a way, but yet very evolved. We're going to get back in touch through the earth, I would say, but yet there's still going to be technology, and bringing humanity to technology is what I would say. Mm. And that's what's happening right now. We're evolving it.
We are. I mean, I just, guys, I am privileged enough that I work with Donnie in the Metadime digital business, and he does some amazing stuff in there. But he and I have, many opportunities to sort of just sit and chat and just talk about this stuff and, history and culture and how, I have a different culture to Donnie, but yet culturally we are actually really similar in the way in which we've been, we were brought up from a cultural perspective, and how family and community is so extremely important. I want to get him back on another show, and we're going to talk about, cultures and how you continue to thrive as a family, even in times of where times are tough. And there are a lot of families even now that are going through some really tough times. And I know that, we've had a lot of government bailout in many countries where families are kind of, although it's been tough, they've been doing okay because they've had some form of, government relief. But in this next quarter, the outlook, the economic outlook looks very, very different. And so the things that we're going to need to share on our channel and in the Unlock with Tracy Wilson show are things that are going to help you thrive in your business, your family, and your life. And they will cover all sorts of different aspects. Why? Because we are not one-dimensional. We need that from all areas of our life. And I don't know about you, but like in terms of my corporate life, I was told, and I even echoed that with my team, that you leave your baggage at the door. That was a saying, which meant that you leave all your stuff that's going on with your family, any issues that you've got. We don't want to hear about it. You're here to do what we want to need you to do. When in fact that is so, now realize and understand that that's totally not what we want to do. We want to embrace the whole of the person. So I want to say thank you so much for being on the show today, Donnie. I want to give you an opportunity because there's quite possibly something else that you want to share. There may or may not be. So I will let you speak for a couple of, for a few more minutes because we've got some time. If there's anything else that you want to add?
Well, I have seen that we're going to go through a transition. From my near-death experience when I was 19, I was shown quite a bit of what was coming, and we're actually in it right now. But I was also shown that we are going to change the way we do everything, and it's going to be much better. And there were a couple of words, I like to write it all the time. I was told it's called clarity of thought with non-judgment. And that the next big exercise coming for all humans will be, there will be a moment, or maybe a long moment, where we will literally hear each other's thoughts. And through hearing each other's thoughts, we'll come to the realization that we're all the same. We're all human beings. Doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter male or female, orientation. We're all human beings. And even right now, even though as human beings, we're experiencing this COVID-19 virus, which is affecting human beings. It's leveling the playing field. And people aren't still realizing that we're all vulnerable to that. And we're vulnerable to everything. But we can also be there for each other. And so I guess we could talk about it another time, Tracy, about, the near-death experience and all that. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing I want to leave with people is that every single one of us, no matter who you are, no matter what you've gone through, no matter how difficult your life is, whether you're a young person, an older person, you're having a rough time, it does get better, but it's about going within yourself, and it's about what are you looking at. You can keep looking at things that have had negative impact in your life, or you can refocus your attention and create solutions. Think about how we could change things. Do something positive for yourself, positive for the person you know. It's really our thoughts become manifest into this reality. And whether it's in a business or a personal relationship, we are responsible for our thoughts. And our thoughts do create our reality. And some people may not want to hear that because it means we're responsible. Mm-hmm. And we are. We are all responsible. We're responsible in our business relationships. We're responsible of trying to be impeccable when we're communicating with each other. My best advice to people is when you're communicating with someone, strive to be present in that moment and strive to actually listen. Listen to what that person is saying. Don't worry about what you're going to say, but strive to be present in that moment and in that experience, and all the solutions and everything will flow into you. And there's hope. There's hope for all of us. This is just the beginning. Earth has been around a long time, and so has the human race. And it's only going to get better. This is just another bleep on the chart.
Yeah, another one for the history books, right?
Yeah, another one. And here we are. Mm-hmm. Here we are, and it's exciting. And Tracy, I want to say thank you so much. It's very easy talking to you, and I haven't spoken about this stuff in public for a long time, maybe to individuals, but I really appreciate it, and I love your show. I love the direction Unlocked is going. I love that it's so informative, and I love that I feel like I'm in school when I'm. It's like I'm in class with Tracy Wilson. I enjoy it.
Thanks, Donnie. I hope that's a good thing, in class with Tracy.
No,
Wilson.
it's perfect, because that's why we come there, is for information. You're providing all this valuable information. I mean, I've had many businesses, and there's things that I'm learning from you that I didn't even know about. And that's a good thing.
Fantastic. Well, look, I want to hang around for just a few more minutes, because today I actually want to give our viewers an opportunity to ask some questions.
Oh,
so we've been totally intent, having this really awesome conversation.
Okay.
But I just wanted to know, we've got a few people on here now. Is there anything that you type to us in the comments section if you've got any questions? Are you going through anything right now? Is there something that we can help you with? How else can we add some more value for you guys today? If you don't have any questions, no big deal. I'm sure we'll have some after the show. If you're watching the replay of this, you absolutely can still ask questions. The way in which you do that is by typing into the comment section, and we will make sure that myself or Donnie will get back to you. But right now, if you've got any right now that you would like us to talk about, then feel free to put it into the comment section, and we'll hang around for a couple more minutes to answer any of those. And if I happen to dial out before you get to ask your question, don't worry, we will get to you. We'll come back to you in the chat. So I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. So while I'm doing closeout, guys, feel free to put them in there, and I'll make sure that we get back to them. But I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show, Donnie, and I want to get you back again, because I know there are lots more stories that you've shared with me, and of course I'll ask you about them first, and determine whether or not you want to share them. But you share as much or as little as you like.
Pretty much open book now. But
the ones that I've heard from you that have impacted me or have made a difference to my life, I want you to be able to share those with others, because they've impacted me. I'm pretty certain that they're going to impact other people. So yeah, I want to enable that pathway to happen. So we're going to close out now and say thank you very much to everybody. Hey guys, I've always enjoy doing these shows. I'm going to be back again on Tuesday. So we'll have something else pretty special to share with you on Tuesday. So you'll have to dial in and tune in to hear what that's all about. I also wanted to let you guys know that we've made a massive amount of progress in Metadime Digital. And I want to give you guys the opportunity to head on over to our website. Go and have a look at it. We'd love to know what you guys think of it. So it's metadimedigitalco.com. So metadimedigitalco.com. Go and have a look there. If you're watching the replays and you want to just listen to them on a podcast version, there is a tab on the website where you can go and actually look at my show, Vicky Helm's show, and also Scott Stevens' show, where you'll actually be able to listen to them as a podcast version. So go and have a check those out. And also, if you want to stay up to date with everything, very shortly we have our very own app being launched, and the way that you get on the waiting list for that so that you can be one of the first to download it is that you want to go to metadimedigitalco.com and just click the button that says get on the waiting list for the app, and we'll make sure that we get a message out to you guys as soon as that is available. Look, we've got one question here, Donnie, before we dial out, and I'm not 100% sure who this is from, but I think it may be from Ryan, who's on his phone right now. But how does society evolve? Many individuals are doing great things. So I think he's making a comment that that's how society actually evolves, is with the individuals now doing many great things. And
yeah, I could also say what I did see. I'll share a little snippet of that, but I actually saw a moment of time in our future where our societies, cities, buildings are going to be based, I guess you would term it more like modern greenhouse living, but schools, community centers, it's just going to be very different. And that was when I had the experience of the clarity of thought with non-judgment, where we're going to be, like you said about business, I don't want you to bring your business to work. Well, we're going to be more supportive of each other as human beings and embrace the fact that we're in human beings because to have the human body is a gift, spiritually speaking. And society is just going to change, and it's actually will be a bit more balanced than it is right now.
I'm really glad that we are closing out on this note, because the thing that I have, realized throughout all of this is with this huge amount of change, there is always lots of opportunities. But the opportunities, I've shared some of them in the past on previous shows, but I really do think that there is an opportunity now for us to collaborate. The business, the type of business that we're seeing now will be very different in the future. And I think Metadime is actually one of those businesses that are starting to do this, where it's a collaboration of people coming together, allowing us to work together and letting go and not being trying to hang on to certain different pieces of the pie. It's not about that. It's about us all working together, because when you do that, amazing things happen. Life you start to unlock everybody's inner genius. And with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. I want you guys to live a life unlocked. I want you to be able to find your own keys, because it is you that holds the key and the answers to your own happiness and success. We are here to help and guide you and to give you some resources to help you do just that. And saying that, we'll be back again next Tuesday. So see me here again, Australian time, 10 a.m. next Wednesday, Australian time. If you're in America, it will be next Tuesday. So thank you so much, Donnie. Super appreciate you being here and absolutely love working with you on the team. So see you guys. Have a fantastic day and keep living your life unlocked. See you soon. Bye.